Ross and Rachel, Ted and Robin, Tom and Summer, 3 of the most celebrated love stories in modern pop culture. And in every single one of them, the guy at the center is in some way controlling, entitled, and convinced that his feelings for a woman matter more than her feelings about him. We rooted for them, called them romantic, and even wanted to be them. So why did we get it so wrong? And more importantly, why do the writers keep getting it wrong too? They were trying to make heroes, romantic, emotionally available men, and a sea of commitment phobes and bad boys. And that intention is exactly where everything went wrong. I think there are 4 mistakes that writers make to turn heroes into nice guys that are just undercover misogynists. And I want you to explore it with me. Take a look at Ross. He is jealous of Mark the moment Rachel mentions his name. Not because Mark has done anything wrong, not because Rachel has given him any reason to doubt her, but because Mark is a man who exists near his girlfriend. And to Ross, that's enough. So what does he do? He sends a barbershop quartet to her office.
1, 2, 3, congratulations on your first week at your brand new job. Your loyal, loving boyfriend, Ross.
In the middle of the workday, to sing about how much he loves her and how lucky she is to have a boyfriend. In her first week there, Rachel is mortified her colleagues are watching. Now, I've got a question for you. Is that played as a red flag? Like, is the camera horrified? Do his friends sit him down? No, it's a punchline. The audience laughs. The show frames it as Ross being Ross, endearingly over the top, a little much, but ultimately coming from a place of love. That framing is doing an enormous amount of work, because what Ross actually did was show up at his girlfriend's workplace to publicly mark his territory because he didn't trust her. Pretty controlling if you ask me, not romantic at all. The behavior is right there on screen and the camera keeps looking away. See the mistake yet? Let me show you another example that's even worse. Ted. He tells Robin he loves her after the first date. Or, well, he says he thinks he's in love with her, but I'm counting it. He shows up uninvited at her apartment with a blue French horn.
Hi! I was just,
He still has feelings for her while she's engaged to his best friend, across 9 seasons of her telling him in various ways that she doesn't want what he wants. And the show scores every single moment of it with wistful piano music and warm lighting and a narrator framing it as one of the greatest love stories ever told. That is the mistake. Not the character's behavior, that's actually pretty realistic, plenty men act like this. The mistake is what the camera decides that behavior means. 500 Days of Summer is the most interesting case here because director Mark Webb actually tried to do it right. The whole film is deliberately framed through Tom's unreliable perspective. There's a split screen, expectation versus reality. That's basically the director grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, "He's projecting, stop rooting for him." The actor playing Tom had to go on Twitter years later to spell it out. Tom wasn't listening. He was thinking about himself the whole time. And people still blamed Summer, which tells you something important. The nice guy's framing is so deeply embedded in how we watch stories that even when a director actively fights it, half the audience brings their own soft lighting with them. So if you're a writer who's not even trying to fight it, you've already lost. Your camera is his best alibi. But that mistake is only about framing the nice guy from the camera's perspective. There's something much deeper going fundamentally wrong as well. The problem can fundamentally be tackled with a single question. What do you actually know about a nice guy beyond the fact that he loves some girl? Take Ross again. He's a paleontologist. He's annoying about it. He has a son he barely sees after the first few seasons. He corrects people's grammar. He once tried to kiss his own cousin and blamed it on not having sex for a long time.
I haven't had sex in a very long time.
Now, what do you know about Ross as a boyfriend? He's devoted, he's romantic, he never gives up. He loves Rachel so much it physically pains him when she's with someone else. See the problem? The writers built his entire romantic identity around intensity of feeling, and they mistook that intensity for virtue. He loves her so much. That's supposed to be enough. That's supposed to explain away the jealousy, the possessiveness, the barbershop quartet, all of it. The love is the character. But love isn't a personality, and niceness isn't either. This is the trap. When writers make nice the character's defining trait rather than one quality among many, it stops being a description and becomes a transaction. He's not kind because he's a kind person. He's kind at her, specifically, in the direction of what he wants. The niceness has a destination. It's like a dog putting on puppy eyes when he can get a bone, but once you try to take away the bone, he becomes aggressive. Ted practically has this written into his operating system as well. His whole philosophy, the one the show presents as romantic wisdom, is that you should never stop, never accept a no as a no. The show wants you to find that beautiful. And you can see why a writer would think this. There's something superficially moving about that kind of devotion. But strip away the piano music or laugh track and watch it again. A man is telling you that a woman's repeated refusals are just obstacles between him and what he's owed. There's a reason that there's a video with 16 million views about why Ross without a laugh track is a psychopath. You could frame Ross as having a particular worldview, and it's a slightly misogynistic one. The really insidious part is what this does to the nice label itself. Because when niceness is a currency rather than character, it becomes an invisibility cloak. You can't criticize him because he's nice. You can't call him controlling because look how much he cares. The label does the PR work while the behavior slides underneath it. A well-written character who's genuinely kind, a Ben Wyatt, a Peter Kavinsky, has the kindness running through everything they do, not just pointed at the woman they want. Ben supports Leslie's political career even when it costs him. Peter Kavinsky drives across town to find Lara Jean's favorite yogurt drinks because he was actually paying attention to who she is. They're not expecting anything in return. That makes them different because a nice guy's niceness always has a destination. And when writers forget to question that, they've built the misogyny into the character's foundation before they've written a single scene. And that is setting up for the worst mistake you could ever make when writing a nice guy. It's an issue that 500 Days of Summer is a masterclass in doing it right. Think about what Tom actually does in the movie. Summer tells him, clearly, from basically their first real conversation on day 28, that she doesn't want a relationship or believe in true love. She means it. No hard-to-get games or anything like that. And Tom hears that, processes it, and decides it doesn't apply to him because his feelings are too real to be dismissed by something as inconvenient as what she actually said. He spends the rest of the film collecting experiences with her like they're evidence in a case he's building. Every moment they share, like the one in IKEA where they pretend to be a couple, in his head it all goes into a folder labeled proof that she loves me and just doesn't know it yet. He's in a relationship with the version of Summer he decided existed before he knew anything about her. But like I said, 500 Days of Summer is different. Webb and his co-writers actually understood something. The whole show builds up to Tom and Summer becoming a couple, getting married, but then the marriage just doesn't happen. The relationship, or whatever you want to call it, fell apart, which is perfect. The writers know their nice guy is wrong, so they don't reward him. All the entitlement and grand gestures should not get someone the girl. That's not how love works. Ducky in Pretty in Pink is a clean example of the full version of this mistake. He spends the entire film convinced he knows what's best for Andy better than she does. When she develops feelings for Blaine, Ducky tries to shame her out of it, tells her she can't do this and respect herself, overlooks everything she actually wants because what he wants is louder in his head. The original ending the director wanted for that movie, Andy ends up with Ducky at prom. Test audiences physically booed it, which is remarkable when you think about it. Regular people in 1986 understood instinctively that Ducky hadn't earned that the ending would have validated everything wrong with how he treated her. The writers had to go back and change it. I feel like in 2026 that has changed, but most stories don't have a test screening that saves them. Leonard in The Big Bang Theory never had his booed out of the room. He spent years talking down to Penny, condescending about her intelligence, lying to her, and the show keeps positioning him as the sensitive alternative to the more overtly awful men around him. He gets the girl, he gets the apartment, he gets the ending, and the audience is supposed to feel good about it because at least he's not Howard. What do you guys and gals think? I mean, shit, when I watched it 10 years ago when I was still little, I did not understand or see a single thing wrong with Leonard. I thought he was some quirky nerd and correcting people was just a character trait that was a little on the spectrum. rewarding the behavior actually teaches the audience that the persistence was justified. The friend zone strategy worked. The treating her feelings as a temporary obstacle rather than an answer, grand gestures, etc., all of it gets retroactively validated the moment he wins. And again, that's not what happens in the real world. Quite the opposite. But the biggest mistake people overlook is the impact the nice guy has on the female characters. Go back to 500 Days of Summer. There's a scene early on where Tom first notices Summer when she is introduced in the boardroom meeting.
Everyone, this is Summer, my new assistant.
There's only two kinds of people in the world. There's women, and there's men.
You can see Tom fall in love right away. Then, after it, a narrator describes Summer like she's a mythological event rather than a person who just started a new job, describing how she looks, how much she weighs. Basically, just indicating that she is attractive. But Summer, the person, her actual thoughts, her actual feelings, her explicitly stated position on relationships, none of that gets talked about. Tom hasn't spoken a single word to her yet, and he's already decided that she's the one based on her looks. And the film's tragedy, the thing that makes it actually worth watching, is that we spend 90 minutes watching Summer try to be a real person inside a story that keeps insisting she's a symbol. Rachel has a version of this problem too, just quieter. She has more agency than Summer. She has her own storylines, her own career arc, genuine friendships. But the moment she enters Ross's orbit, she starts getting flattened. Her new job becomes a threat to his ego rather than a big win for her. Her friendship with Mark becomes evidence of betrayal rather than a normal human relationship. She exists fully when the camera is on her. The second it cuts to Ross, she becomes a thing that's happening to him. This is the subtlest of the four mistakes because it doesn't always look like a mistake, but that's precisely the problem. A woman who only exists in relation to a man's feelings about her isn't a character. She's a trophy with dialogue. And when writers build the story that way, they've done something worse than just writing a weak female character. They've structurally confirmed the nice guy's entire worldview. He believes her feelings are less important than his. He believes she exists, on some level, to fulfill a role in his narrative. And when the story is literally constructed that way, like how Summer is defined entirely by what she means to Tom, and Rachel's career exists mainly to generate conflict for Ross, the narrative is agreeing with him. The misogyny becomes the story's problem. The writers who get this right do one thing differently. They make her real independent of him. Leslie Knope doesn't exist to complete Ben Wyatt. Laura Jean has a full interior life that has nothing to do with Peter Kavinsky's feelings. When the woman is a person first and a love interest second, the nice guy's possessiveness finally comes to light. Because you can't really love someone you never bothered to see. So, let's add it up. A character whose camera excuses everything he does, whose niceness comes from entitlement, who gets rewarded for behavior the story quietly knows is wrong, whose entire worldview depends on the woman not really existing as a person, that's the nice guy trope written in a bad way. Take away the wistful piano, the laugh track, the warm lighting, the sympathetic narrator, and the happy ending. What's left? That's 50 years of television and film handing this character a violin and telling us to weep for him. In 2018, a show called You premiered on Lifetime, then moved to Netflix where it became one of the most watched series on the platform. It follows Joe Goldberg, a bookstore manager in New York. He's well-read, thoughtful, notices things about women that other men miss. He frames everything he does as being in service of love. Joe Goldberg is also a stalker and a murderer. Just like 500 Days, this show is different. Joe doesn't read as a monster at first. He reads as a nice guy. He has the same internal monologue as Tom Hansen, the same conviction that he sees her better than anyone else does, the same certainty that his feelings constitute a kind of ownership, the same resentment toward any man who gets close to the woman he's decided is his. The difference is, the writers refused every single one of the four mistakes. They didn't let the camera lie for him. The show is in Joe's perspective completely, and it uses that perspective as an indictment rather than an alibi. His inner dialogue doesn't make him sympathetic, rather it makes him a psychopath. You understand exactly how he thinks, and the understanding is horrifying rather than romantic. They didn't make nice his personality. His niceness is explicitly a performance calibrated to what he knows about his target. He researches women before he approaches them. He He tailors himself to what they need. The kindness is a tool, and the show never lets you forget it. They didn't reward the behavior. Every relationship Joe pursues ends in disaster, violence, or both. The story doesn't shake his hand. It just keeps showing you clearly and without flinching where this worldview actually leads. And the women are people. Beck has ambitions and flaws and friendships that have nothing to do with Joe. Love Quinn has an entire psychology independent of him. They exist, which is exactly why it's terrifying when Joe tries to reduce them to roles in his story. The show had to work as both a love story and a horror movie in every single scene, and that's exactly right, because Joe is both things at once. He's the horror movie version of every nice guy we've been rooting for since the 90s. He's Ross if the camera told the truth. He's Ted if persistence led somewhere real. He's Tom if Summer had been right to be afraid. The biggest difference between Joe and the men we've spent this whole video talking about is the framing. Strip the framing away and you're left with the same engine running underneath all of them. The same belief that his love is a force that supersedes her choice. The same conviction that nice, in sufficient quantities, eventually becomes deserved. The writers of You understood something that 50 years of romantic comedies and prestige dramas apparently couldn't figure out. That if you write this character honestly, without the soft lighting and the redemptive ending, he's not a hero at all. He's what happens when nobody corrects the mistakes.